the Ruger LCP Max. Let's talk about some of the upgrades they did on this, and I think they did some on the LCP too, but we don't have that one. We don't have that one to talk about yet. So, LCP Max, great little gun. Let's talk about some of the upgrades they did from the original LCP. So, you know, up here is about the same size. The slide's about the same size, but the slide does have some upgrades. So we'll start up top here. We have bigger sights. They're still rounded over pretty decently, so I don't think those will snag, but they're also adjustable. They're dovetailed, so you can actually adjust those left or right. And then we have a front sight here that it actually has tritium, and probably not going to be able to get that on camera, but that's okay. It's a tritium front sight that's also adjustable, so we got left and right adjustments there. We have the same sort of, yeah, you can actually see through this one all the way when it's, see that light cutting off when I move my finger there? If there's a bullet in there, it'll be shiny, and that's your indicator whether it's loaded or not. We do have a trigger safety here, so we have a lighter trigger pull, but we also have a long trigger pull on these. But you know, if you don't press that, then this little safety will stop it from moving past that point, and it won't go off. But you know, we have a long trigger pull, and then we have a clean break that's, you know, a little heavy but not too bad, and that's probably a good thing for concealed guns. We're not shooting target and match here. We have a double stack magazine, so you can get 10 rounds plus 1 out of this one. I'm sure they have a lot of different mag options, but this is just what comes with it. And then some special things that a lot of people may or may not notice is the stippling here makes it a good grip purchase, and they still have some, you know, bends in here that come from it being almost an inch to 3/4 of an inch, where they've creatively put those bends right here in the gun where your finger wants to rest, or your thumb and your index, just to give you a good grip purchase. So that's a nice transition there from being kind of wide to narrow up top. We have serrations up top that are kind of sharp, which in this case is a good sharp because you can actually move it. Same back here. And probably one of the best features and upgrades on the whole gun are these lips right there. You got one there, and then you got one right here, and they actually stick out a pretty decent amount here. I'm trying to get it where you can see it. Yeah, so you can actually grab those. So whenever you're racking this gun, the grip strength doesn't have to be so high, and it's a lot easier to pull back than on the traditional model. So those are some of the upgrades on this as far as the physical upgrades. We'll get into the shooting later in the video. Check out the dimensions. We will call that about 5 1/4, and then our height 4 inches, and the width, that's going to be a little wider, probably an inch would be my guess. I haven't measured it yet, but let's see. Oh my, there's no way. I'm seeing about 0.75, which is insane. Is it thicker down here? Okay. So it's actually thicker here, and it gets thinner as it goes up. So up here, you know, it's about the same as the LCP, and you get down here, you know, it's 7/8 of an inch. Not quite an inch. Man, that's pretty good. Okay, now we're going to do a breakdown on the LCP Max. First, we eject our magazine, and then we clear it. No bullets. Then we take a small screwdriver, and again, you can put a piece of paper in between it if you're worried about scratches, but I'm not. So you just barely break that loose. It's not very tight. Pull that pin out. And set the pin down. Then the gun comes apart pretty easily. So then you flip the slide up, pop this pin out and hold on to it so it don't go flying away. And then the barrel, slide it forward and then out. That is the takedown of the LCP Max. So reassemble we're going to put the barrel back. We're going to take the pin with the hard edge, and there's a groove right here. I'm going to press it into here. And I'm going to force it all the way up on that lip. And then we get the pin in place. There's a little spring right here that you have to press down. So we start at the top and work our way down, and then put it back in. That's the breakdown of the LCP Max. Okay, first we're going to test. Next we're going to test the LCP Max. 4 pounds, 14 ounces. 4 pound 9. 3 pound 6. That concludes our trigger weight. Okay, I have the LCP Max here. It is not loaded. Got a small leather holster here that we're going to just do a quick test with. I don't have my belt on, but I'm still just going to demo it for us. So the way that I carry is right here, right beside that belt loop above my pocket. Cover it with my shirt, and then I kind of stretch around and see how it feels. So what I recommend when you're carrying a handgun concealed, I recommend a waistband on your pants that either expand or maybe slightly larger than your actual waist size. And then if you can get a belt that also is expandable or a little loose, I would say expandable, because when you're sitting down it stretches and when you stand up it contracts. That's what I would recommend. But as far as comfortability here, what I do is I take my undershirt and I put it behind the gun. And again, just, you know, normally I'd have a belt on here. And then I put my overshirt over it. So there's a pad between me and the gun and my skin, and then another layer on the outside to cover it up. And then whenever I sit down, this is what the gun does. So when I sit, it doesn't really dig in. You know, when you're sitting down, it doesn't leave too much of a profile either. Especially if you have a jacket on, it just kind of disappears. And so comfort on this one, I would say, is pretty good. Yeah, I would say comfort on this one, it's a great gun. It's still comfortable and it's pretty minimal. So I'd give it a pretty high rating on concealability and comfort. Okay, here we have the LCP Max, and we're going to shoot 5 shots out of it. I may be between 16 and 18 feet, but that's what the accuracy that we're looking for these small concealable handguns is, that distance. So let's see what we can do. Also pay attention to the recoil, and then I'll rate it at the end what I think, whether it be low, medium, or high recoil on this gun. Okay. Alright guys, we have the LCP Max. Earlier today we did a test and we shot it with a full metal jacket round, actually 2 of them, and it just flew through the gel block. So I decided to go with hollow points on these tests because it's more than likely if you get in a fight and you are defending yourself or whatever, you're going to end up using hollow points because that's what everybody carries. So let's see what the hollow point does. We've already tested the LCP, now we're going to test the LCP Max and see if there's a difference with the same rounds and same ammo. The ammo we're using today is the Norma 85 grain, 1280 FPS. Just going to take 1 shot into the gel block to see how the penetration goes, and then we'll measure it. right, guys. We have some pretty good penetration. The bullet is backwards. It flipped over. So it came in here, it expanded, the bullet rolled and continued to travel in reverse, and then it finally stopped. It penetrated quite a bit further than the LCP did. So the LCP Max with the same exact bullet actually penetrated more, and that penetrated 12.5 inches versus 10.5. So we have 2 more inches of penetration with the LCP Max than we did the LCP. Okay, empty. The LCP didn't do that. It doesn't lock back when you're empty. So I'll tell you about the recoil on this. I'm gonna have to say it's a high recoil. It comes back and it smashes into your finger right here, and it hurts real bad. I can handle the jumpy part, but the bumping into your finger is pretty uncomfortable. I'll say it's a good gun. I don't even think it's accurate just fine, but it's not as accurate as the LCP, just because when you're looking at your sights here, you've got the tritium round green sight right here, and then you have your 2 here. So once you line those up, it's so big that the bullseye, you can't see it from here. I guess in a self-defense scenario, that wouldn't really matter. So, you know, you're not looking at a tiny little 1-inch bullseye. I think it's plenty accurate, especially for the distances that we're looking for. We're within a couple inches of being right on target. Good capacity, nice weight, nice grip. I don't really know how you would improve that. Recoil is going to have to be heavy for sure on this one. Recoil is not everything. When we're in a situation where we're actually defending ourselves, we're not worried about is our finger going to be bruised at the end of a couple shots. So overall, I think it's a great gun. The only negative thing that I would have to say about it. So here we go.